Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Lisa with Lisa's Faith and Budget Planning channel. I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited to be here with you, getting into my Paycheck 1 closeout and Paycheck 2 setup. I have to close out one before I can set up the next. So we are going to go over the numbers, how much money came in, and what we spent and how much money is left over, and find out what we need for Paycheck 2 to the end of the month. So hopefully we can stay within the budget for the month and be good to go. So let's go ahead and dive into the numbers and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. So Paycheck 1, let's go over numbers and figure out what happened this paycheck period. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm excited to have you here. This is one of many videos that I do, and Paycheck 1 is just the first 2 weeks of the month, the 1st through the 14th. And I do this because that's how my husband's pay schedule goes. If you see my monthly budget, you would know my husband only gets 2 pay schedules throughout the month. The first of the month with several income streams coming in at once. We'll be going over that in just a second. And then one more salary check in the middle of the month on the 15th, which is today, and we are setting up the the second half of the month until the end of the month, the 15th through whatever, 30th, 31st, whatever it is this month. I don't memorize those things, so I don't know off the top of my head, but it is July, so you can check that for me. Okay, the first thing I have here is all the income. It really did not change much, other than it went up a little bit here because I did include the balance forward, meaning anything sitting in the checking account the night before all these deposits hit at the first of every month, what was part of June's money or income that carried over into the month of July. So that was $8.46. My budget is quite tight. My husband took a pay reduction at the beginning of this year. Actually, he was unemployed for the first couple months and then got a job, but he got a job that he loves. He still loves to this day. He's never been happier, but we did have to take a huge pay cut to do it. So we have minimum in our salaries, but he does have military retirement, and we're just going to go ahead and type these numbers in as I talk. And that was $1898.12. That is his retirement check every month that he gets. There are taxes taken out, and there are, what else is taken out? Our medical is taken out of this. So you'll never see like health insurance and stuff like that because it's already taken out of the military retirement. Since military retirement is perpetual and it doesn't really end unless the service member or the retired service member passes away, then that would end. Actually, this wouldn't end. We pay also into where I would get 55% of it when he passes. So I still get some of his military retirement, which is awesome. And then he also gets VA disability. He, if you know anything about the VA and disability and stuff like that, this is 20 years of service. And on their scale, on the things that are service related, brokenness, I guess you would say, he gets compensated by $2,428.91 every month for the entire year. It is adjusted every year for cost of living, so I do track that every year. So it's gone up several times. He's been retired how long now? Since December of 2017. So his first retirement check was like 2018. January. So it's been a while. It's been a while. Every year it just keeps going by faster. So the next thing we have is rent. Our oldest son pays us rent, $803, and we add the dividends that come into our checking account just for accountability purposes. So that's 2 pennies, and I just kind of throw it here instead of giving it its own line item. And then salary, it's lower than we expected, but it fluctuates depending on the county taxes that are taken out and how the counties do that. So it goes up $1 or $2, up or down. So the average is $13.15, but that will be changing in August, and it'll change again in September based on some future raises. So that's really exciting to see. So we're going to add the 31. There we go, 13, 14, 31. And then again, this was just sitting in the checking account. I want to account for that. And that was the money that carried over. So we have a little bit more than what we started with, guessing or estimating for the beginning of the month, but it was $6,452.82. And it's nice to see it go up, not down. So I am happy about that. And so let's go ahead and get into the expenses. So these are the bills that come out the first of every month. These are the variable expenses that I did. I did some different things this month. When I do my weekly check-in, because there's so much money coming in at the beginning of the month with these income streams, I set my variable expenses for the whole month. And this month I did something different by putting in the weekly check-in the entire amount and then subtracting down. So this was the first 2 weeks of the weekly check-in. So here I put half of it here at the beginning of the month as an estimate, and I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to do that or not. We'll have to wait and see. I probably should have done the whole amount here, but either way, if I did or didn't, the numbers still work with the checking account. Now, paycheck to paycheck, monthly budgeting, weekly check-ins, all of that is a reflection of my checking account. I do talk about the savings account sometimes or other accounts that we have, but this is a reflection of income in, income out, and how we pay and how we decide to make payments. So for most of my bills, they're all automated. I don't really have to go and do anything, which is kind of nice. But if I don't track it, I'll forget I do it. And then I'll look at the account and go, there's money there, but I don't know exactly what it's for. I'll probably end up spending it. So in order to not do that, guess what? I track it. And that's the best way I've found, the best tool that I have in my ability to make sure we don't go over budget. So that's the best thing I can do. And I recommend it to everyone. Track it and make sure that every penny is accounted for, every dollar is made sure you have an assignment to it, so it does the maximum benefit that you have for yourself. So now we're going to go into the expenses. God outreach. You're going to see a lot of tithing at the beginning of the month. We tithe 10% of all our income, and each income stream has a specific tithe where it goes. It's something that we pray about as a couple. I do all the budgeting, but my husband and I are in agreement on the budgets and things like that. So we have to go over this every month. We have to talk about it. Though it's not really my husband's wheelhouse, and he probably would just ignore everything if I didn't bring it up. He does work with me on it. He's funny that way. So God's Outreach is a food bank in my local area. That was 9506. A lot of these are have odd numbers just because we pay the servicing fee to use a debit or credit card kind of thing and do it online. That's just the cost of doing things online for a lot of foundations or nonprofits or anything like that. Anything that is basically an organization you can get a tax write-off for. So there's that. PHC is Pregnancy Help Center. We love to donate and help women who are pregnant that have needs, and this center helps give ultrasounds. They give baby clothing and diapers and formula and things that a new mom would need to help take care of, especially a low-income new mom. This is what that's for. And so we give monthly to that. Our Spectrum bill this month was $160. It's been fluctuating lately just because they overcharged and undercharged and all. I don't know. Hopefully they can get their accounting straight. $10.59 for Amazon Music. That is my husband's bill. $6.99 is Paramount Plus. Let's see. That's supposed to be Roth. I didn't even think. It says Roth IRA. That's hilarious. Roth. That's an H in there. I didn't separate these out, so I put it under sinking funds. So we're going to go ahead and include that. Sinking funds are a bunch of smaller one-time bills throughout the year. They're either annually or quarterly. And things like Christmas and birthday and stuff like that you want to build up throughout the year. People use cash envelopes to do that. I just put out the money, know how much I want for each transaction, and put a large amount like this, $547.57. That totals everything that I would need. And when I pull money out for the year, or pull money for whatever item that comes out that annually, that month, then I just make the transfer to the credit card or wherever it's being paid from, and it doesn't impact the monthly budget. So I really like doing that this way. This month has been really crazy, and I'll show you in a second. We'll leave it right there. I have so many transactions. It's ridiculous. So sneak peek, a lot of transactions here. So if you don't watch my sinking funds, watch my sinking funds close out at the end of the month, and that'll show you everything that happened. I didn't show very much there, but you saw a lot of transactions. Yeah, it's been a crazy sinking fund month. Usually I only have 1 or 2 transactions in there, but I had to do some money finagling for my accounts to make sure everything was right where it needed to be. So where am I? Tithe. So this is an automatic withdrawal. Again, we pay the processing fee to do it online. And then the rest of it is the tithing for our church that comes out of the salary. I didn't mention before, the first 2, God's Outreach, PCH, is military retirement. VA disability is this Greater Europe mission, which we're getting ready to put in here. So it's $256.75. These are missionaries that we support. And then salary checks get this $168.18, which I've already put in there. So the next thing we have, NutriSense. Originally, when I wrote this out ahead of time, a lot of the time I will fill out the pages, get the stickers down before I start recording all these videos. And at the time I was taking it out of the paycheck, out of the checking account. Now I've made it a sinking fund and I don't have to worry about it, because we really actually don't have enough for it. So that's why I've been moving numbers around in the sinking fund and changing things up again. Categories have appeared and disappeared in there. So I made it work. That's what we're doing. So there's nothing here out of the checking more. We did have $34.05 for our water bill. It's very low where we live, which is kind of nice. I was used to $50 a month, but I still budget $50. Case we decide to run it more. We don't typically water grass or plants around here, so that might be the reason why, but that's okay. Next thing I have is $7.41 HP Instant Ink for my printer, and that lasts me, it's enough ink that takes care of every month, and I'm good with that. YouTube Premium is a service that we have, $24.92. That gives you 5 emails to use with YouTube. So 5 people can have it, and it's under one, I think it has to be under one household, like IP address or whatever for the home, for the internet, and that is how they determine how that works. I may be wrong on that, but I think that's how it works. So we have all of our family on it here in the house, and we're good to go there. Mortgage. I forgot to include the mortgage at the top. I don't know why last time, but we have $2,522.96. Okay, so here's our mortgage. This is the total that we have for what we spent here on our fixed expenses, $3,922.64. The mortgage actually includes a $550 principal only payment, so we can pay our mortgage off by the time we are 65, and I get ready to turn 50, so it's like December of 2038. I do a Mortgage Monday video where I break down how that affects the mortgage, and hopefully I'll link that in the cards, and you guys can check that out, and I'll try to link that in the description box below. All right, so I have that number. I know what my actual spending out is in the fixed expenses. Now we're going to go over grocery, household, restaurants, miscellaneous, gasoline, copay, and unbudgeted. This is what I thought I would spend. I was over in a few areas and under based on these numbers, but for the month we're still doing good. No problem there. I am going to show you where I get those numbers. We're just going to do one of them, and then I have the numbers off to the side so we don't have to calculate every one of them and flip the pages back and forth. That's one thing I don't like doing. So if I take the spent, which is $349.04 for grocery household on week 1, and what I spent for week 2, $243.29, that gives me $592.33, and that is what I spent for the first 2 weeks of our weekly check-in. And it's also, oops, And that's how much I spent in paycheck 1. Week 1 and week 2 is always paycheck 1. 3, 4, and 5, if there is 5 weeks, is always in paycheck 2, since we have two paycheck periods in our budget. Now, for you guys, it may be different because you may get weekly checks, you may get like 3 checks a month or every other Friday or whatever, and it does flow a little different, and you have to have part of one month and the other month in the same paycheck to paycheck periods, or not paycheck to paycheck periods, in the same monthly cycle. When you're doing your budget, it still works out the same. It just looks a little different on paper because of how the income fell during the month. So there's that. So let's go ahead and write these numbers down. $592.33. The restaurants we have, and we've definitely went over on this. I don't know how we're going to do for the month, but I don't want to pull from savings, so we'll see. $396.70 is what we did for restaurants. $117.70 for miscellaneous. Now we went really high for gasoline. I did not budget high enough for this, so $186.63. And then we had 0 for copay and 0 for unbudgeted. Unbudgeted is just anything above and beyond the budget that's still cash available in the buffer, the checking account. I don't really have a buffer, and what balance forward buffer I had listed here, which my estimate was $1,189 or $1,118.94. That has to, I have to be careful of that number. I don't have $1,000 left over. That $1,000 is needed for the spending going into the next month and what bills are into the next month. Things like, or not month, paycheck period. So I might have to make sure I have this money lasts me the entire paycheck period. So I have to break it down this way. And it's a good habit to get into. So we're going to go ahead and total these numbers up and write down what we actually spent, and we'll see if we're more or less over with what I estimated. So let's do that. $592.33 plus the $396.70 plus the $117.70 and the $186.63. We have less than we planned, which is really good. That gave us more money going into the next paycheck period, and that's $1,293.36. Now that I know how much I actually spent in the variable expenses here, I'm going to take my actual deposits, $6,452.82, and subtract this $3,922.64 and subtract the $1,293.36. All right, there we go. That's the number I'm looking for. I have an actual, see if I can get this written down. CTUAL balance forward. I really should make a sticker for this, but I hadn't thought of that. $1,236.82. So that is paycheck 1. This closes out paycheck 1 because this was what was sitting in the checking account the night before my husband got paid again for paycheck 2, and this is going to take care of the rest of the bills and spending, as well as the paycheck that came in for the 15th to the end of the month. So we got to make all those dollars stretch to finish out the month. So now I'm going to take that number, I'm going to write it here on this page to start my paycheck 2, $1,236.82, and I'm trying to decide. I'm going to include it. Normally I don't include other, but I've just made some deposits, and I need to include it. So hopefully everything works out. I was struggling a little bit this morning. So my dad gave me money to pay for what he spent, or what I paid for on my credit card to help move him up here. So driving to North Carolina, where he's from, to Kentucky and back and forth, with gasoline, hotel stays for my sister and brother-in-law that helped us move everything into a storage unit, the storage unit, and my hotel, because I took my sister and brother-in-law back to North Carolina. My brother-in-law is a truck driver. My sister rides with him, and they drive, they work for a certain company, and she rides with him. So it's interesting lifestyle, I guess you would say. But he does still drive through North Carolina, and that's where his rig was. So once he brought my dad's stuff, which was a big Penske moving truck, to Kentucky, where we live, there were expenses that are accruing, and my dad was not technically here at the time. He was still traveling to get up here. He had to wait for his car to get fixed to come up here, so it was crazy. So anyways, yeah, we had a busy month. So he gave me $1,000 to cover that, and it wasn't $1,000, it was $880, and he gave me a little extra just for doing all the things. So he just gave me $1,000, and then I moved $650 from our money market account, where our sinking funds are, into our checking account for some work we had done with a contractor. So that needed to be covered, and it wasn't in the budget, so I had to move it from savings. So $1,650 was what was moved and put into the checking account. It's already there. It's the 15th. That's why I'm okay with going ahead and throwing it into the other category, because it's already happened and don't need to do it later. So that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and total up these numbers. I don't think we're going to have any more extra money come in for the month. I take that back. There's a check. That number's wrong. When I went to the storage unit, there was a $25 deposit. I just got the check and the $25 back. So I need to add that in here because I've already made the deposit too. So plus 25, I don't want to mess this up. Okay, make sure I was thinking right. So it'd be $1,675. Savings, a deposit, refund, and what my dad refunded me for what I spent on the credit card and all the traveling costs. So there we go. Whew. That's a lot. I mean, you've got to really think through what you have coming in and going out very carefully, because you can get thrown off really fast. All right, so I'm going to total this number up. We're going to see how much income came in, as well as other monies that got deposited into the account, so we can account for it down here as money goes out. So I'll be right back. All right, so we have right now $4,226.96. Whew, okay. Now I do know exactly what the salary is, 13, 15, 14. I had that actually got deposited on Friday instead of today, which is Monday, but because banks need a 24-hour business day before they can send a deposit, usually they'll pay you a couple days early, or you get your cash early anyway because it fell on a weekend, holiday, or something like that. So there's that, and then all that cash that came in, whether it was from savings, my dad, or the refund, that's there. So that's a good chunk of change. So let's see how the numbers turn out for what we need going forward. Now we're only estimating everything. These may be actuals, but if something else comes in, I can put that in over here and we get a new total at the end of the month. But right now I'm just estimating for the next 2 weeks and trying to make sure we have enough money to cover everything, including our spending categories. Electric, I know exactly to the penny. It's higher than what we thought it would be, but it's 181.93. It's just because our air conditioning is electric, of course, and so that's cost of 90-degree weather every day, and a husband who needs it at 70 degrees in the house 24/7. So yeah, it's kind of rough on the bills, but that's why we make money, is so that we can live the convenience of that. And we have a really good, fairly new air conditioning unit, and I've had it looked at, and it's amazing. So it's very efficient. So yeah, we just use a lot of electric. AT&T is our cell phone service. It's the best service around the area I live. It's $285.61 this month. There are 2 phones attached to this, so I think we're halfway through paying them off, and if I paid them off early, I would have to pay a higher price. So I just keep them on here in order to get the $5 or $10 discount that is included. I don't know. It's weird that they did it that way, but they did. They like leasing phones. I mean, they just really, really do. So tithe is the same every paycheck period, $168.18. That'll change in August and then again in September because it's always 10% of the salary. Life insurance 1 is $87.57. That's me, my husband, and my youngest son, who's just turned 20. My oldest son aged out at 25, so we gave him his own policy for $33.16. So that is what we're doing there. And then my husband's insurance thing is $39.17. And then Apple.com is my phone storage, $2.99. Discovery Plus is $8.99. Some of these might be going next month. I'm really debating on that. So I think this week we're going to have a family meeting and then go online and decide which ones we want to keep and which ones we want to cancel. Vivint, that is $65.82, and that is our home security system. This is for the coverage of the cellular to the phone. If the Wi-Fi is down, and they can still monitor things. Especially since we own all the equipment that we bought years ago, we really like it. And I think I have a code, if it's still good, in the description box. So if you're interested in that security system, I do have a code, and you can get a little cash back for that. Geico, that actually I just saw it as an upcoming transaction, $175.65. And that lowered a little bit. I think there were some adjustments that happened. So I'm going to go ahead and put that as actual because that is in the bank and it's happening. So I know that isn't going to change at all. So check, CK there means check, parentheses TM is the contractor. And that is where the $650 goes. I wrote him a check, and when that money clears, then I will write the actual, but that's what we did. We had a shed removed from our property, a pretty big size one, that housed our riding lawnmower, so it was just not on stable ground, and it wasn't good. The lawnmower we got was a little big for it, and just didn't like it anymore. So we had him tear it down, and that was $650. My dad, this is what was charged on the credit card, and then I'm going to put CC for credit card. I'm going to pay back the credit card $880.42. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and total up all these expenses. These are my fixed expenses. These are things I know are going to happen that should not fluctuate. If they happen to do, I can put the actual, but the number really doesn't change much here. But I still like having an actual column in case it does, in case I miss something. So I'm going to total these up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's a lot higher number just because of the $650 and $880, but we know where the number's coming from. We know why it's such a large number, and we have the income hopefully to support it. I'm pretty sure we do, if I ran my numbers right. So $2,579.48. Now, even though these aren't regular reoccurring bills, I don't really have a fixed and a variable column, but I kind of run it like it is. Usually the variable's over here, but to me variable means I'm going to put one number here and it's going to be different over here. These I know are not going to change because I wrote the check myself, or I know I'm going to do that specific transfer. And I had a couple extra lines over here. So it could be interchangeable whether I put it on this side or that side. Totally doesn't matter, just as long as you're tracking and you take your income minus your expenses. That's all budgeting is knowing those numbers. How much you have coming in, how much you got going out, and what is left, and what do you do with what's left over. And that's the important part. How do you make good financial decisions on that and take care of yourself, your family, and so on and so forth. So I have that done. I'm not going to put any other actuals because I don't see anything else in my bank, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now we're going to go to the budgeting part of grocery, household, restaurants, miscellaneous, gas, copay, and unbudgeted. So for over here, I kind of written out what it would take to figure out how much to budget for the end of the month. Because basically budgeting for the last of the 15, basically for budgeting for the last half of the month, I need to know exactly how much is left in those spending categories. So I went ahead and kind of took the numbers from my Paycheck 2. I've got a little piece of paper here, or Paycheck 1, these right here, and what the total was, and then added what I was going to have the second half of all the expenses over here, and then that was going to show me exactly how much I had left for the rest of the month. So that's what this little piece of paper is about. Grocery, household. So I had $800 I spent over here. I subtract the $592.33, and that gave me $207.69. I add another $800 for this half of the month, and that gave me a budgeted amount of $1,007.67 for the second half of the month for grocery, household, which is really, really good because we're going over in our restaurants. Again, we're enjoying life a little too much, but we're enjoying it. And so more than likely some of the restaurants will come out of grocery, household, which I kind of put a built-in buffer in that to help protect the fact that I know this may happen. And we have to think things through when we do this, and I have to keep up with the math, but I do think things through on that. It just cuts it close a little bit. So did the same thing with restaurants. I did $300 for last month, $300 for this month. I subtracted what we actually had, $300 minus the $396.70, gave me a negative number. I added $300 to that and left me only $203, and I need double that for the rest of the month. Miscellaneous, I started with $150, we spent $117, had $32 left over, plus the $150 equals $182.30. We're doing really good at miscellaneous. I am really happy with how that's turning out. Gasoline, we're way over. We gave ourselves $100, $186.63 is what we spent. And then we add $100 to that. So I only have $13 for the month. I will need to fill up another gas, at least 60. I think the last one I filled up was like $70. Gas fluctuation, and I drove it longer than I normally would. Normally it's 55 to 65 with the average gas prices that we have right now. But I let it get down to almost like 30 miles in the range on the dash. That's what it said I had left in gas, and it wasn't a lot. So yeah, I ended up paying $70. So I know I'm going to be way over in that. I'm just going to have to figure it out with the rest of these categories. I'll probably do a tank of gas out of miscellaneous and only give myself like $100 or just over $100 for miscellaneous for the rest of the month. I have to keep that in mind, and I might have to borrow an extra $100 to cover the restaurants for the rest of the month because I need at least $100 a weekend for the boys' pizza night, and then on Fridays, and then whatever my husband and I date nights. So we just been having a lot of date nights kind of thing. I still have the same $75 I started with at the beginning of the month for copays. That's just for prescriptions and things like that. And on our doctor's appointments and so on and so forth. We have no appointments this month, so it's just for the prescriptions we get every month. Unbudgeted is always 0, and I really don't have anything in the, what do you call it? The buffer the checking account to work with. So I might have a little bit of money, but I don't want to think about it because I want it to cover some of these other things if possible. So that's where we're at with the budget here. So let's go ahead and total these numbers up and see how much we have planned for our spending categories. Okay, so we have $81. Love erasable pens for this. I really, really do. This doesn't leave the house, so it doesn't get in the heat of the car or anything like that. I don't travel with it, so I've not had an issue with the erasable pens, the Frixon erasable pens. I love it. I get these on Amazon. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. To do the math because I can erase and it makes me feel good. So those are the numbers. This is what I'm working with for Paycheck 2. Let's find out what the new balance forward or buffer, I don't even know what to call this, budget. I'm just going to put budget here and actual. So we know what the budget buffer is or budget balance forward is, depending on if I balance forward into the next month, or if I decide to put a little bit of money away for savings and start fresh the next month. I like doing that as well. That's kind of one way to add money to your savings account. But we'll have to wait and see at the end of the month on what I need. So we're going to take the $4,226.96. And we're going to subtract the $2,579.48, and we're going to subtract the $1,481.64. Okay, I'm left, woohoo, really thrilled about this buffer, $165.84. This is what's left over in the budgeted checking account, or the buffer, or the balance forward, however you want to put it. I don't know if I'm going to roll over in it yet or not, and I don't want to commit to either terminology. So it doesn't matter. It has a job, and its job is to sit in the checking account, making this a zero-based budget. That's what I want it to do, is to sit there, so that if I need a little extra because we spent more over here than we can afford and we need the extra cash for things, then I have the money sitting there. If not, I can move it into savings next month. I can move part of it in savings, keep it in the checking account. It just depends on how the money moves out. And the reason I have over $100 is because my dad was very kind to give me $1,000, even though I only have to pay the credit card $880.42 on what he spent. So that is where I'm at. The end of the month, you will see me close this out once I hit week 5 of the weekly check-in. My end of month budgets is always the last week of the weekly check-in, plus closing out Paycheck 2, and that closes out to the balance of what my checking account is at the end of the month, and that's how I close out my budgets. So one budget follows into the next budget, into the next budget. I really like that, and it just makes sense to me. It made my life simple. It may seem I take a long time on here. It's just because I'm explaining things, my thought process, hoping that helps you in your thought process, maybe see things one way or another. Not exactly like I do, but it might inspire you to think of something that I haven't thought of, which is really cool too. I love hearing about that. So this is closed out. This is set up. I'm good for the month. I'm in positive numbers here. I feel good about the budget. I just need to pay attention to my spending categories, because I know these budgeted numbers are the actuals for bills that are usually fluctuating, like utilities. The rest of them are never changing, so we're good to go there. And yeah, I'm happy with the rest of the month. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Have an amazing and blessed day. Bye.
As a young girl, it feels we're mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a